Everybody's back, so let's go ahead and let's waste no time and let's jump right into the demo. And I think we might have left off with just having the 3 images and then the music playing when you press the button. So that's a good start. Let's give this a second to, okay, there we go. All right, so for today's demo, I kind of just wanted to get into the, the really important stuff of the project. So like, how do you get the images to flip around, right? And then make it an actual, whack-a-mole game to give it the animation. So what we're going to do is we want to use the set interval method, but the question is, where do we want to use it, right? And where we're going to use it is right here between lines 1 through 6. So let me, here we go. So all I have to do is just wrap this in the set interval method. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's see, set interval. And then we have our function and then the curly brackets. And let's see. And of course, we're going to, let's just give it an interval of 1,000 milliseconds for now. And we're just going to grab all this code and paste it in the curly brackets like that. Oops, there we go. All right, so now that we have that done, what we actually have to do is, in the last demo, we actually hard-coded integer values in the array elements. But remember, we want to access it randomly, right? That's what makes the game harder, is you don't know what image is going to pop up where. Right now, we said, okay, here, I want you to print Pikachu. I want you to print Psyduck and the Pokeball. So we specified it directly. So now what we want to do is we are going to use math.floor and math.random to get those random images. So when you're coding, it's always best to break things down in functions. It makes the code a lot cleaner, a lot easier to use. So let's do this instead. Let's create a function, and what this function is going to do is it's going to return a random number. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to put it right above set interval. And then we're going to give this a name. And I'm just going to say, remember when you're using functions, you always want to, if you can, start it with a verb. That way it's clear what it's doing. So let's say, since we're getting a random number, I'm just going to call this get random, short for get random number, of course. And then in this function, I'm going to return a random number. So let's go ahead and let's just call it random num. And let's set it equal to the math.random method. So for this, I'm using 3 different images. So I'm going to be accessing 3 different elements. So to do that, I need to multiply by 3. Right? So now what I can do is I can actually come back down to my set interval function and create 3 more constants. And what I'll do is I'll call them like random number 1, random number 2, random number 3, something like that. So const keyword, and then I'm going to say rand num1, something like that. And so remember this function here, this get random, it returns a value. It's going to return a random number. So I can actually call this function, and then whatever number that returns, I'm going to store it in rand num1. And to do that, all you do is type the name of your function followed by the parentheses, just like that. And I'm just going to repeat this 2 more times. Call this randnum2 and randnum3, just like that. So now that I have these random numbers, so what's going on here is every time this function runs, it is going to store a random number in each of these constants. So yeah, so try not to get confused with the constant. I know I said that you use it when the value doesn't change, but in a sense, if you think about it, in this entire way, or in this function, when it runs through, it's not, the value is not changing throughout this entire function until you run the function again. So that's why I'm using constants. It's a little tricky, it's a little confusing, but it's probably best to use here. So I'm just using the constant. And now that I have these random numbers here, I'm going to store them in where we hard coded the values. So instead of 0, I'll put randnum1. Instead of 1, I'll put randnum2. And then instead of that hard-coded 2 value, I will put randnum3. All right, just like that. You know what? Let's go ahead and run it. Let's see what we get. And look at that. So now it's it's moving. It's doing what we want it to do. We don't know what image is going to pop up where, and that's what makes the game fun, right? And then we can actually, so what's cool about this is you can give your game, you can make your game harder or easier. You can give it a level of difficulty, right? So like I could come down here to the set interval, and basically what I'm saying is I want the images to change every 1 second. I could come here and I can change that to 500, and guess what's going to happen? It's going to be much, much faster, right? So that'll make it harder for the user to whack the mole, or whatever the concept of your game is. That'll make it harder for the user to click what they're supposed to click. So let me go ahead and let me refresh this page so we can stop that. I think 500 milliseconds might be a little too hard, so I'm going to change it back to 1,000. And of course, you can make it easier, right? So you can put 1,500 if you wanted to. It's all up to you. Okay, so this is really what I really wanted to show you guys. That's the really important function there that's going to give your project the animation. So next thing we can do is I think we already have down the ready set go, I believe. Or no, I don't have it in this project, but somebody asked a really good question in office hours. They said, how do you get the images centered? And I wanted to show you guys that because it's not very intuitive. It's kind of it's a little tricky, and to do that you're going to be using style.css. So I wanted to show you guys that really quick. So we have our HTML code and we have our table, and we call this slot 1, 2, and 3. And then we gave the table, so we gave it a class of center. So what we want to do now is we want to head to our CSS, and what we need to do is you're going to write table dot center like that. And then what you have to do is mess with the margin. So we want to mess with the left margin and the right margin. So to do that, we would write margin hyphen left, and then we would set it to auto. And then we do margin dot right and set that to auto as well. And that should center everything. And yeah, there we go. And it does. So it's more, it's, you know, how it's, you see how it's centered in the screen now. So let's close that. I'm not sure if there's a way to stop this. If I guess I'll just have to refresh the page again. Okay, so now that we got it centered, let's go ahead and let's knock out the easy stuff. So let's give this page a title. Let's give it a header. I'll use H1 to give my game a name. And here's my table. Now, if I wanted the header, I want it to be at the top before the picture. So I'm going to put it right here before I specify the table. And I'm just going to put the H1 tag in there. And let's just call this, I'm going to call it Pokemon whack a mole. Something like that. And then right below it, I'm going to provide directions on how to play the game. So I'll use an H3 tag for that. And then I'll just say, well, directions. I'll say, what should I say? I'll just say whack the mole by, or actually in this case, we'll just say the Pokeball is the mole. So I'll say whack the Pokeball to win points. I'll say click, whack, in parentheses, the Pokeballs to win points. Click on, I'll say click on Pikachu or Psyduck and lose points. Something like that. Okay, so we got our H1 header, we got our directions, we have our images, and then we have our button, but the button isn't really styled. So let's go ahead and let's make it look better. And here, I have some pre-written code that I'm going to use, and that'll save us some time here. So the button, I think, okay, yeah, we just called it button. So let's go back to our style.css and let's put in the code here. And I'll go over it really quick with you guys. So I have a height and a width, a border radius, and what the border radius does is it gives it a nice round edges. And then I give it a background color of tomato. I think that gives a nice red color. And then the color, of course, that's the color of the text, the font size of the font in the button. And then I gave it a little box shadow just for looks. Okay, let's see how we're doing here. Yeah, there we go. So we got the button, and as you can, you might, I don't know if you can see that, but around the bottom edge, there's like a black line to give it a 3D shadow effect. But the only thing I'm missing here is I'm missing text in there. So let's go ahead and let's provide some text. And I'll just say, you know, start or something like that. So let's head to our button. And I'll just say start. Perfect. So we got the button. So now let's do a little bit of more JavaScript. And so what I want to happen in this game is when I click on the start button, that's when ready, set, go should pop up. And then that's when the images should start showing up and playing. So right now, it's actually right when we open up the site, the images are already flipping around and moving, and we don't want that, right? So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to store set interval and all that into another function. And I'm going to call this function start. So something like this. I'm going to say function and start. And I'm just going to grab everything from set interval. I'm going to cut that and paste. And you might have to do some formatting. There we go. And then I think I already showed you guys the how to do the ready, set, go. So I have that code here, so I'm just going to paste that in. So what's happening here is when the user presses the button, I want the start function to play, right? So when they press the button, then this code is going to run. It's going to say ready, set, go, and then the images are going to start animating. So that's my vision for this. So now all I need to do is grab this function and then put it in the button in the HTML code, right? So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go back to our index.html and let's head to on click. So I think we have play music for now, but I think that was just for the demo. So instead of playing the music, just for now, I'm just gonna put start, just like that. So when they press the button, everything starts. All right, there you go. Let's see, Josephine, do you have a question?
I'm just asking for part of your code. Can you give me the code for like the function for the start button when they press the start button?
For
like the ready, set, go.
Oh, the ready, set, go part, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that part that was just to show you guys a little extra with set timeout. You know what JavaScript can do, but again, the set timeout it's not required on the project. All right, let's see. So Josephine, Grace, did you raise your hand again, or is that okay? All right, guys. Okay, it doesn't look like any questions right now. So if nobody has any questions, I'll just keep moving on with the demo. Is that okay? All right. So at this point,
I think Josephine has a question.
Oh, Josephine, do you have another question?
Yeah, for my start button, even before I pressed it, it's like starting.
So if it's starting, what you probably have to do you already have the code for your start function?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so let's go to your html.index file, and then make sure you have this line of code right after the ID of your button. On click equals start parentheses within double quotes.
Oh, works now. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so let's keep moving forward. So another thing we want to do is when the button is pressed, when the start function is executed, then we also want to play the theme music, right? So we already have a function here from last week's demo, and it's called play music. And all it's doing is playing the Pokemon theme music. So to get that to run when the user presses the button, what you want to do is call that function. You want to call that function within the start function, right? So we're kind of nesting functions here. So let's go here, and all we have to do to call a function is write the name of the function, and then the parentheses, and then the semicolon, just like that. And actually, you know what? I don't think let me stop sharing for a second, and then I'm going to reshare my screen, and then share my sound as well. There we go. Okay, so we have the music playing now. So if you guys are following along and you wrote this code, you may have noticed that the ready, set, go, it probably still says ready, set, go, right? It might be stuck there on the page. So what we want to do to avoid that is we need to clear out. We basically have to clear out the ready, set, go. So to do that, what we need to do is we want it to clear out after a certain amount of time. So I'm going to use another set timeout function within the start function. Paul, did you have a question?
Yes, I'm sorry to interrupt, but so in the HTML audio tag, I put in the autoplay like inside the audio tag. So should I remove that in order for like when I press the start button for it to work? Should I remove the autoplay first?
Yeah, if you want to get it to work for everything to start, including the music, when the user clicks on the button, you'll have to take out autoplay. Actually, that was another good question in office hours. For those of you who don't know, is if you want the music to start right when you open up the website, all you need to do is head over to your audio file, and you see where I put loop. I would just put autoplay like that, and then that should automatically start the music. But in this case, we're just waiting until the button is pressed, and then that will start everything. So if I wanted to, I want the ready, set, go to clear itself. I think go might be stuck in there, right? So we have to clear out everything using inner HTML. So to do that, I'm just going to create another set timeout function, and let's just put it right below where we're playing the music. And I'm going to call, or I'm going to use set timeout, and then write the function, and then don't forget the semicolon there at the end. And then I'm going to say, well, let's create a variable. I'm going to say let ready, set, go equal document dot get element by ID, and I think it's ready, set, go. I think that's what we set it to. Ready, set, go dot inner HTML, and then I'm just going to set this equal to double quotes, and I'm basically saying to clear everything that's in the ready, set, go span tag. And then I want it to clear after a certain amount of time. I want it to clear after it shows ready, set, go. So basically around the time that the game starts. So I'm going to say, let's just clear it after 2 seconds or 2000 milliseconds. And let me just double check to make sure that I wrote the span tag. Okay, yeah, I had a feeling I was missing it. So let's add the span tag and let's put it right below. Let's put it right below the button for now. I'm just going to say span like that, and then give this an ID and set it equal to ready, set, go. And let's make sure we put that in parentheses. Like that. Okay, let's see what we got so far. Let me open this in that way it's easier to see. Now, if I press start, everything should start playing. Sorry, that was really loud. But it looks like it's working. So that's what we're looking for. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was the font was really small, but it was right next to the button, and it said ready, set, go, and then that's when the images started showing up. So you're kind of helping the user that's playing your game on when to start. But we have a problem here, right? We want to center everything. Pokemon Whack-A-Mole, the directions, the start button, it's all to the left. So let's center that really quick. And let's see. So let's do this. I'm going to add everything. I'm going to add the H1 and the H3 tag. I'm going to give that a class of center. And if you guys remember, I created in my CSS, I put dot center. I'm using text align center. That way I can just reuse that class. So let's do class equals center. And I'm going to be typing that in. Let's run it. Okay, so now it's centered. Now let's take care of the start button. And let's see, so the start ID button, let's put this, I'm gonna move this code 29 and 30. That way it's easier to see. I'm gonna put it right above the images, like that. And then I'm going to store this. Let's store this in a div, in its own div. Oh, another useful function that you guys should probably know in Replit is if you wanted to indent multiple lines or format, you see how this is all basically starting at the same area. We want these to be indented in. That way it's easier to see that this is within the div. So if you hover everything and then you just press tab, it'll indent for you. And if you wanted to de-indent, then you would hold on to shift and press tab, and it'll go back to where it was. All right, and then let's give this div the center class. Let's run that and see if it's centered. Okay, perfect. So now it's all centered. Okay, so one of the harder things to do in this project is tallying up the score, right? So what we want to happen is we want a scoreboard, and each time, in this case, each time the Pokemon or Pokeball is pressed, the user is going to win points. Pikachu or Psyduck is clicked, they're going to lose points. In this case, I'm going to say 10 points is gained when they click on the Pokeball, and 10 points is lost if Pikachu or Psyduck is clicked on. Somebody raise their hand and get started here. All right, so what do we have here? Unexpected end of input. Okay, so it's in your JavaScript file and it's on line 42. So let's look at line 42. Let's see what it's pointing at. All right, and then you should be good to go from there. So if you run your code, you shouldn't get any errors. Unexpected end of input. Okay, so you still have another error. Let's go back to your JavaScript and let's see. So you got your function, stop music. Okay, so it looks like on line 33, you're missing a parentheses. So do you see where it says 2000 and then that comma to the left of it? Right between, on line 33, right between the comma and that curly bracket, you want to put a parentheses, a right parentheses. And then let's run it again. All right, what do we have here? You got your set timeout function, enter HTML. Okay, that's good. Let's see. Oh, wait. Play music. On line 34, let's put a right curly bracket. And let's run it again. Unexpected token. Okay, no problem. Let's see what we're missing here. What is it doing? Okay, there we go.
That worked again.
Yeah, there you go. Nice job. Yeah, the line 33, I think I thought that was something else. So yeah, line 33, yeah, forget what I said about that. You don't want a parentheses there. You want a parentheses, but you want a curly bracket on line 34. It looked like your start function wasn't enclosed. So that's all it was.
Thank you.